I'm feeling much better today, thanks. Not because things are better, I just stopped paying attention. Hi, how's it going? It's Ken. Yeah, good to see everybody here. I see people yelling each other's names. Of course, John McKee yells out everybody's name because John McKee, I don't know if you know this, is the man. And I mean that in the best way possible. He's not the man keeping you down. No, he's the man. And he says, joining us on today's live edition, we got John, we got Matthew, got Brian, Hank, Bill, Frank, other Brian, not to be confused with Brian. There's Webb, there's Chuck, there's Eugene, Leah, not a name I know, I don't think. I mean, I know the name, I've heard it before. There's Paul, there's Roger, there's Donna, there's Amy, there's Derek. Dominoes sold separately. Oh, Derek, you must get so many Derek in the Anyway, you guys want to do a thing? I don't know what's happening there, so I'm going to ignore it. Right, let's do a show. I don't. Yeah, you know Bill. You know Bill. Also, you know Bill. A medium length chat about short form content. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of March, 2021, and this is macOS Ken Live. I should do this show in like 17 second segments, excuse me. I should do the show in 17-second segments and then put it up on, I don't know, is the Vine still a thing? What about the FaceTube? That might be one. Hi, everybody. It's Ken Ray welcoming you to another edition of macOS Ken Live, this thing that we do most Monday through Friday afternoon, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, other times, other places on the YouTube. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Ken Ray. You know what's really interesting about YouTube? You can find content there that's as short as 15 seconds or as long as 3 hours. Crazy, right? We're talking about short form content today. And the reason we're talking about short form content today is because there were 3 stories that I think are going to be in tomorrow's edition of macOS Ken. I'm not 100% certain if they're all going to be there. One of them was one that was going to be there yesterday. Yeah, whatever. We'll just talk about it. So here are the 3 stories. Netflix has launched a thing called Fast Laughs. Guess what that is? Amazon has brought one of their tools that used to be Android only, now over to iOS. That is called Game On. We'll talk about what that does. And then there's a new show coming from Apple called Calls, Calls, Calls. 2 of those 3 things seem to be in response to TikTok. I don't think Calls is, but we'll get to it. It's just the whole short form content thing is really interesting to me. Let's talk about Fast Laughs first, I guess, since that was the first thing that made me think, there's a lot going on today. Netflix's library of content is vast, says this thing from this place. I don't think I really need to read the article now that I think about it. iDownload blog is the one that hit me to it, but basically, as they say, Netflix's, library of content is huge, ridiculously huge, so huge that they can just sort of take some of their comedies, chop them up into tiny little bits, and then put them out there as just like this thing that you scroll through. Not unlike, well, I was going to say not unlike TikTok, but it's very unlike TikTok in many ways. Form factor wise, it's not unlike TikTok. You hold your phone in portrait mode. It plays somewhere between 5 seconds and 25 to 30 seconds of something at you. You can click whether you like it. You can add it to your queue. And that's what the whole Netflix thing is. I mean, we can stop right there. Probably partly they want the people who are spending time staring at TikTok to stare at them instead. But then you can also add it to your queue so that you can go back and stare at them for even longer later, which is kind of hilarious. It's not short form content. It's more just like, segments of things that are already out there. Personally, I don't like it. I tried it today. I don't like it. And it's not that it's because the comedy is too varied. I was thinking what it reminded me of was, do you remember the Comedy Channel? Before it was Comedy Central, there were 2 networks that were out at the same time. There was Ha, which came from HBO, and the Comedy Channel, which came from I do not remember who. And Ha ended up buying the Comedy Channel and then turned the whole thing into Comedy Central. But the Comedy Channel used to be like it was like MTV for comedy. They would show clips of TV shows or clips of movies, or they would show clips of stand up back in the day, back when there was a stand up place on every corner. Because, at least in Boston, I used to go to this comedy place that was on the third floor of a Chinese restaurant. No lie. And the problem is, I say that, and for Boston at the time, you still have to go, wait, which one? Because that's what that was like there then. So in a way, the Netflix thing kind of reminds me of that, except I don't know, maybe it's because it was safe for television. Maybe it's because you just had an idea. Maybe I was more open to new things at the time. But the comedy that they're throwing up on the Netflix thing on Fast Laughs is crass, and I'm okay with crass comedy too. But you kind of have to ease me into it. So at one point, I'm watching a clip from Enchantment, which wasn't terribly funny. And some stuff did make me laugh. Don't get me wrong. There was a stand up thing from Judah Friedlander that I thought was hysterical, right, for all the 10 seconds they showed me. But then there was other stuff that I was like, I'm actually kind of, offended. The other thing that's weird to me is it's built for mobile. So it's showing up in the iOS and iPad apps. It's not on, Netflix. It's on your mobile app for iPad and iOS. If you just want to quickly, look through there. And I guess it might be a good way to get people to say, hey, that's a longer form thing that I would like to watch at some point. I don't know. So the Amazon thing, Amazon has launched a short form gameplay video service, Game on iOS. Now, what's weird is it has no games, but it has ways for you to record parts of the games that you're playing to post either on Game On or to post on the socials. It's been on Android for a while, but it just came to iOS this week. And again, it's built for creating and producing and putting out short form content. It can go as short as 30 seconds, as long as 5 minutes, I believe. Although there's one thing in here that kind of weirds me out. It says that it's got a thing where you can actually have it recall the last 30 seconds to 2 minutes of your gameplay, which makes me think that you've got it watching your gameplay the whole time. Now, I don't guess that matters so much because from a security standpoint, you playing a game is you playing a game. And I assume it's only catching the game part, not, everything that's on your screen. I can't imagine it's just a screen cap, but it's kind of a weird thing. They've got ways, sort of like the TikTok thing, where they're trying to get people to stay and, watch stuff right there with them. So you can push your stuff to Game On, and it's got some, I think, some effects or some title things that you can do. You can put in your own voiceover as well. You can, as I say, bounce it out to other stuff, but there are rewards, doodads and trinkets and what have you, leaderboards, things like that for your video and for video retention. Kind of interesting. Sounds like work. Not work, but it sounds like work. What I was thinking about when I was watching or when I was reading about that, and I haven't downloaded that because the only game I play is like it's a word game. I can't imagine there'd be a lot of interest in watching somebody play a word game. Only 2 minutes though, so it's built for the content thing they're talking about. Works with something like 1,200 games. So I don't know. I don't know that you can just record any game you want to there. Kind of weird to me that it actually is limited to the number of games. I assume there's some, monetary something or other reason for that being the case. What it made me start wondering about though was, what happened to clips or what happened to clips, as they say on podcasts. And maybe it's still out there. I don't know. The thing about clips, and I'm not saying that it's a failure or anything like that, because I know that there are people using it. I know there are people making stuff with it. I know Apple is still updating it, but there's no platform for it, right? Clips is a thing that you make videos and then put them out someplace else, put them out to different places. And I know there's ways to export TikTok videos because I see them on Twitter. You see them other places, but I mean, it's made for the platform. Kind of interesting. Calls is the third thing that I was talking about, and it's not really what we're talking about, but I couldn't help it. Calls, I think, is art, and I'm not saying the rest of it isn't art, but I mean, Calls is so what this is, according to a couple of articles I read, this one from Engadget, it's a new show that is going to rely mostly on audio, which, okay, the Engadget piece is like, yeah, true crime podcasts are fantastic and people love them. So Apple's doing one that's not a podcast. They're doing one that's a TV show for Apple TV Plus. It says that it debuts on the 19th of March. I'm assuming that this is one where every episode is going to be available because there are voice actors on it and there's sort of a video element to it, but there are no people in it. There are voices in it. And then there's the weird sort of, trippy visual. Each episode is 12 minutes long or less. And apparently some, big mystery thing happens in the middle of it. Directed by noted horror filmmaker Fede Alvarez, who did the movie Don't Breathe, and adapted from the French series by some guy who has a French name. What made me think that this goes ahead in this category is the guy who was writing this for Engadget, or the gal who was writing for this for Engadget. And I'm sorry I didn't get their name. But the person writing this for Engadget said, yeah, it's probably the thing you'd watch on your phone or on your iPad, but maybe not sit down and watch on TV. It's a fascinating thing. The thing that's most fascinating to me is we've all been home for the past year, right? I assume that one of the reasons that Quibi didn't do well, and if you don't remember what Quibi is, that was the thing that was started by Jeffrey Katzenberg in 2018, led by Meg Whitman. That was Meg Whitman, that powerhouse of entertainment, Meg Whitman. Great idea. She was the CEO. Anyway, they started that in 2018. They launched it in April of last year, like the day after we all stopped standing in line for things. Launched it in April of last year, closed it in December of last year. I was reading the Wikipedia article about that. And what's really interesting is a lot of people don't think it was, well, they don't say it was the pandemic that drove it inside. They say what drove it inside was the money. I mean, the fact that it cost money. I would argue that, you might have been able to make that play if people weren't worried about not being able to buy toilet paper at the time. You might have been able to launch some kind of ad campaign or something that would get people interested in it. It couldn't have launched at a worse time. I mean, it's really kind of funny. It's not funny because, I mean, $1.75 billion were raised for Quibi. They sold their content to Roku in December for less than $100 million. As returns on investment go, that did not yield well. We're home. We're not going anyplace. We're not doing anything, right? You would think that now would be a great time for that, 3-hour Warren Beatty Reds epic that you always thought, yeah, I could watch that, but it would take 3 hours, right? You would think now would be a time for more contemplative, more, really sink in and get into stuff. And maybe for a lot of people it is, but the stuff that's making news is, reminds me of Vine. Remember that? Vine, you can only do 6-second videos, and then it was bought by Twitter, and I don't know what they did with it. It went away. I know a lot of the Vines live on other places, like some of them are on YouTube, funny enough. It's not just the short form, though, I don't think. That's the thing. So, TikTok, I was trying to think about it earlier, and if you listen to macOS Ken, I guess it was Tuesday, Shelley Brisbane and I, I'm sorry, wasn't macOS Ken, In a Few Minutes. If you listen to In a Few Minutes on Tuesday, Shelley Brisbane and I talked about TikTok because we talked about sort of technology revelations, things that, we had this one idea of it, and then one day something happened and it it ticked over into a different thing for us, if you'll pardon my use of that term. Hers is TikTok because it was just like a useless thing, and then all of a sudden she found that TikTok for her was surfacing joy. And I'm going to use the term surfacing because that seems to be the thing that everybody is missing about TikTok. And I don't want to say everybody, but like This Netflix thing is just Netflix trying to push Netflix content at you. TikTok reminds me of podcasts in the early days. The thing that appealed to me about TikTok and why I don't go there anymore because I spent 45 minutes watching TikTok one time without meaning to. I won't say without wanting to because I kept, it kept giving me more stuff that was interesting to me and I kept going more and more into it. But every bit of it was produced, I mean, to varying degrees by people who didn't know what they were doing. I mean, it's you, it's me, it's Joe Rando. It's a guy or a gal who knows how to do leather work. For me, it was a woman who was turning a 15 passenger van into a place that she could live and drive around the country, which, sounds perfect for hashtag these times in which we live. I've got friends who just swear by the algorithm. And I think that's part of what Shelley was talking about as well. The fact that it just keeps surfacing joy for her. She's just like, was talking it over with a friend of mine who is huge into SEO, who is huge into algorithms, and she says that the TikTok algorithm is far and away the best one out there because it picks up on what it is you like and gives you tons more of it. But then it'll find something else that's kind of similar enough that it'll go ahead and that'll start showing up in your feed as well. And suddenly you're into this new thing that's similar to the other thing, but that you might not have ever found. Talking with Brian Chaffin, who is the editor in chief of the Mac Observer a few weeks ago, he loves Instagram, but he loves Instagram for, it seems to me, the stuff that he could be finding on TikTok more easily. He likes to find, videos of people doing things with sealing wax, which is, I feel certain that there is a huge sealing wax community on TikTok. Maybe that's part of what's appealing about that in particular. Not that it's short, not that it's quick, but that it just goes straight to the thing that you like, or you go straight to the thing that you like. I don't know. It's kind of fascinating. I've been trying to figure the other thing. I was talking it over with my special lady friend earlier. She's huge into TikTok, and she thinks part of the reason that she's huge into TikTok, and it could be the same thing that Shelley was talking about, is I would love to say that we just came out of a period of huge anxiety, but I think that would be jumping the gun. We're still in a period of huge anxiety. It was political last year, and then, throw in the dreaded disease, and now it's politics and the dreaded disease with a side of economic uncertainty. There's lots of stuff about which to feel uneasy today. And 30 seconds of somebody dancing, like that guy who was, what was it? What was the song? It wasn't Stand Back. What was the song? The Fleetwood Mac song with the guy on the skateboard drinking, what was it? Arizona iced tea or something. I love that guy. I've seen that one and I haven't been on TikTok in forever, but I've seen that one and I love it. There were three people. Whatever. Maybe it's just the short hit of fun. Maybe it's just the short hit of here's a thing that makes you feel something besides dread. And the Netflix thing I think misses that. The video game thing I can't really speak to because video games aren't my thing. For people who like video games and for people who want to produce that stuff, that's great. Like I say, the Apple thing is sort of off on its own. I also try to figure out, so I'm sitting here, what are we up to now? 17 minutes? I'm sitting here for 17 minutes talking about short form content. And it's making me reconsider whether anything I do should be over 2 minutes long. I kid about that. macOS can actually a short thing, short thing, short thing, short thing, short thing all the way through. Even this show on a normal day is segmented, but it's not today because I only had the one topic. And I'm not going to ask you to do anything. I'm just going to say thanks for being here. I'm curious. I do really want feedback on this, though, because I have a feeling anybody that I reach out to on this is going to have a different answer. For Shelley, it's the joy. For the other person I was talking about earlier, it's the fascination with how the whole thing works itself. There's a tiny bit concern among a couple of friends of mine with, okay, TikTok is great right now, but, remember when Twitter was great? And then Twitter finally came to a place of like, well, we got to make money. And so they changed the way Twitter worked. And for a lot of people, that kind of ruined Twitter. Now, you can't say it ruined Twitter because Twitter is bigger than it's ever been. It's making more money than it ever has. It's part of the global conversation in ways that I don't know that anybody who started Twitter thought it would ever be. And yet it's lost a little bit of the, something. Did I say the thing about podcasts earlier? That TikTok reminds me of the beginning of podcasts before it was NPR and the New York Times and CBS and Wondery and, Falderall and whatever else. I mean, it reminds me, TikTok reminds me of when it was somebody sitting down with a microphone and, talking about something in their life or saying the thing that they were going to say. And I don't know if that's going to go away. I don't know if it'll stick around. Anyway, if you're a TikTok person, I want to hear why. If you're into the whole short form content thing, I want to hear why. If there's some short form content thing that I missed here, and I feel certain there is because I only talked about 4 or 5 of them, I'd love to hear more about it. So you can leave a comment on this video if you've gotten this far into this incredibly long video in these TikTok times. Leave a comment on this video, or really the best thing to do is send me an email, info@macosken.com, info, info@macosken.com. Normally in the middle of the show, I tell you about other shows. I'll just say, I've got an episode of The Checklist coming out tomorrow. It is a checklist compiled of other checklists. That'll be fun. Look for that wherever you get podcasts. You're looking for The Checklist by Secure Mac. In a few minutes, of course, tomorrow morning, Shelley Brisbane continues her week with us, and I'm very glad she did. macOS Ken goes live again tomorrow morning. Nope, macOS Ken goes live tomorrow morning. macOS Ken Live goes live tomorrow afternoon. And I will talk to you soon. All right. The pre-recorded people are gone. Now it's just you and me, you live people, you, and the people who are watching this later. To make a short story long, Dow says, irony, thy name is Ken. No, it's Ken. See, I understand. It's irony. I'm not. Bill is making Bill, I nearly made a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference in today's macOS Ken. And then I realized it was incorrect. I said that we were all going places and doing things before the coming of the Great Green Arkle seizure. It turns out we were all, and I remember this later, we were all sneezed out of the nose of the Great Green Arkle seizure, and we all live in fear of the coming of the Great White Handkerchief. Well, the Jetravarded do. I feel certain that Bill knows why they're unique in the galaxy. Interesting. Brian thinks we may see more short-form content in the short term, perhaps due to delayed show tapings due to restrictions to film during COVID-19. It's an interesting idea. Dow says YouTube is calling it shorts. Is that a thing? Dow also says Judah is the world champion. That's funny. Yeah, that clip. And the thing is, I forgot to say this because I'm not Netflix's PR person. You can actually add stuff into your Netflix queue based on those little 6-second things, which I totally failed to do when the Judah thing went by. But I know who he is, so it should be easy to find. God, Matthew, I would love to watch part of a Vogon poetry reading on YouTube. See, Webb says, who remembers Quibi? Did you say that before I started talking about it? Dow says Quibi was good content, but terrible concept. The creators were good, but the people actually behind it were really out of touch. Well, you'll be able to watch it on Roku fairly soon, apparently. Yeah, it was nominated for, I was reading on the Wikipedia page, it was nominated for several awards. The content was, like, Emmy Awards, which is great for the 8 people who saw them. Yeah, Clips is still out there, and Clips is still being updated too. Quibi answers the question, what can you do with $1.75 billion? Oh, God. Right? Quibi costs money. Quibi costs money. Yes. Da-da-da. That's interesting. Dow says the one fatal flaw of Quibi was the fact that they designed it so you couldn't share videos. I mean, it really was, not to knock Jeffrey Katzenberg, because I mean, he's the K in DreamWorks SKG, right? Obviously, he has at points known what he was doing. He ran something at Disney, but Quibi felt like people who used to do media coming in to show people who do new media how it's done, which has worked for podcasts. And not to sound bitter about that whole thing, but I mean, it's so funny. I was talking to a guy who worked for what was the Here and Now for the NPR show or PRI show Here and Now. And at the time, I was talking to him about wanting to get a Roddenberry show on radio, and he didn't understand why this guy who was like part of a national radio show didn't understand why I would be interested in having a show on national radio because, everybody knew that podcasts were where it was at, he said. Now, it turns out this was right around the time that Serial hit, which I like had heard about Serial, but wasn't really paying attention to because everybody was like, oh, now everybody's talking about podcasts. And I think I was 10 years into doing a podcast at that point, or 8. And so I didn't see, I was in the water, right? And I didn't feel it heating up, I guess. And so it's kind of weird because you would think, except the problem is because they knew how to do content, because they knew how to do media, they figured, people should pay for it immediately. And how are you going to get people to start paying for something when they don't even know if it's going to be any good after a week? John says, hi, Brittany. I'll second that. Hi, Brittany. Roger says anxiety is to 11 in Texas. Amy wants to know if special lady friend is a code. Well, it's code for my special lady friend. What do you want? We are of an age where she feels like calling her girlfriend is silly. So I go Big Lebowski. She's not my girlfriend, man. She's my special lady friend. Doom talk. See, that's a story. Oh, see, there we go. Brittany knows it. I think the roots are in the Big Lebowski, but I might have that wrong. No, Brittany, spot on. Hey, watch it, man. I got a beverage here. That movie needs a rewatch. I haven't watched that in years. I don't remember that, Matthew, but there was a thing that Apple did. Matthew says, remember the HD live stream of the train trip that lasted 24 hours? I think it was in Norway or Denmark or something like that. A great many people tuned into that. Remember the thing that Apple did? And I don't even know where you can find it, probably on YouTube. The tour they did with, I want to say it was the iPhone 11 Pro Max of the Hermitage Museum in Russia. I watched part of that. It was 6 hours long, so I didn't watch the whole thing, but it really was beautiful, especially if you're watching on a good screen, because it turns out the cameras in the iPhone are not too shabby, says Apple. Frank finds TikTok 90% train wreck. Well, you gotta click away from the train wreck videos there, Frank. That's a problem. If you keep watching the train wreck videos, it's just gonna keep showing you train wreck videos. That's really interesting, Paul. I believe it's Paul. Starfleet Universe on call. I'm not into short form videos, i.e., videos less than 5 minutes long. The shortest videos I watch are normally around 7 minutes. Please write to me and tell me why. I'm really curious about that. I'm really curious about that. Please write and tell me why. Info at macOS. You got my address, but please do. Dow, you were wrong. The roots of the short form content are not the Big Lebowski. The roots of my special lady friend moniker is from the Big Lebowski. There we go. All right, you guys already took care of that. John McKee says he has several saved videos that he uses as a Yule log. I bought Mystery Science Theater 3000s for that. I've got like 10 Mystery Science Theater 3000 things that I bought over the years, and they're just on in the background now. And what's sad is I still think they're funny, but they don't make me laugh anymore because I can say the whole thing along with them. Wait, did somebody do the thing? Yes. Look at Brittany. The Jetravarded were unique in the universe for being the first race to develop aerosol deodorant before the wheel, because they had 52 arms. See, that's the part we left out. A race of beings with 52 arms who are unique in the galaxy for being the first to develop the aerosol deodorant before the wheel. I'm going to say Brittany for the tie because I knew that already. But as far as in the chat room, Brittany for the win. John, I have that one. There's also one that's, so John was talking about 10 hours of the 1701D for ambient sounds. I want to say there's one that's 10 hours of 10 Ford as well. I could be wrong about that. "12 hours of Burt Reynolds laughing." Here's one that I actually want to watch, and I've got it saved someplace. It's every guest star ever on the TV show Canon. It's about 26 minutes long, and they've just done the part, where at the beginning where they say with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and it's like, every guest ever. It takes 26 minutes. And it's like it's a march of, late 60s to mid 70s superstardom. Is John not going? John, are you not going to be here tomorrow? Is that what you're saying? Because John's asking who's going to take roll call tomorrow. Amy, that's mean. Amy says The Big Lebowski was 23 years ago this Saturday, released March 6, 1998. I actually saw it, I believe, opening day or maybe it was a week later. I was in Manhattan visiting a friend of mine, but she had to work in the daytime, so I just went and bummed around New York. It's hard to believe I went and sat in a movie theater when I had all of New York before me, but I went to a theater in New York and saw The Big Lebowski. Hey, things that won't happen anytime soon. Going to a big city and sitting in a movie theater. Oh, nice. Good for you, John. John's got a second vaccination tomorrow. Good. That's a great reason to miss this show. There are plenty of reasons to miss this show, but that's a particularly good one. You know, anything that's going to save your life, I say we'll muddle through trying to figure it out. I'll just, what's the most common name here? The most common name here is Brian, right? Is it Brian or Roger? Tomorrow's roll call, I'll go ahead and do it now. Hey, there's Brian and Roger and Brian, and I think Roger's here. There's probably an Amy. Dow's getting his first shot tomorrow. Well done. Oh, Hank has seen the Canon thing. That's awesome. Yeah. John, all of it. Where did you get your Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy experience? Radio, books? I have all 5 seasons of the original radio series. I had cassettes of the radio series that I actually taped off of our local public station when I was a kid. Then a friend of mine gave me a double cassette with them. I've watched the movie a few times, but that kind of bummed me out. I watched the TV show religiously when I was a kid. I want to say that's still available on Hulu. It's just always been there. Well, no, that's not true. I remember I got the first book for my birthday when I was 13. A kid named Chris gave it to me. So kind of all of it. Although the production on that is just so incredible. The song in Millie Ways, the restaurant at the end of the universe. The your arms, your legs, your heads, your everything. To me, that's amazing. Oh, Donna has to go give the cat his meds. And you see, nobody's going to ask her if that's code for something because that sounds like code to me. All right. Hitchhiker was vinyl. Yeah, I've seen that. Never owned it. And I had a record player too. But, I guess the cassettes, and I have a couple of the CDs, I think, which I've ripped down. I've got the first, the primary phase and the, whatever they call it, the second one, tertiary phase, maybe. It's basically season 1 and season 2 of the BBC thing I have. The thing is, they did so much different stuff that I can't remember where everything is. Like, I remember a recording of Zaphod going into the total perspective vortex. And also, where does the thing happen with the birds? With the people who, like, couldn't afford shoes anymore, so they just evolved into birds? John can tell me. I feel certain. Could never get into Red Dwarf. I wanted to. Never could. All right. We've hit the bottom there. Not the bottom, but you know what I mean. I've got to turn what we just did into a thing. I also need food, and I've got 3 shows to produce by tomorrow. Birds were at the end of season 2, says John. Probably so. That sounds about right. And when do Lentilla, and Lentilla get there? They're also in season 2, right? Anyway, I gotta go give the cat his meds, if you know what I mean. This was fun, guys. Thank you very much. Oh, send me feedback on the short form video stuff, please. I really want to hear it. All right. You're wonderful. You are. Take care.